Prusa Mini. Wow. Hello, welcome back to 3 Delirium. My name is AJ, and this box just arrived today. Let's open it up and see what's inside. A Prusa Mini. Wow. Following the 7-week back order, I was in slight shock that it had even arrived at all. I finally had myself a 3D printer. It may sound cliche, but it's something I've only read about in books until now. First thing on top, it may look like a simple receipt, but that is actually a readout of all the tests that they performed at the factory, specifically on my machine there. There's even graphs at the bottom showing its productivity. Impressive. Next up, included one of the most important parts, a little bag of Haribo gummy bears, as well as a thumb drive for transferring files to and from the machine. Watching unboxing videos on YouTube, many of the creators that received their Prusa Minis, I noticed they received American outlet cables because the content creator was from America for the most part, because there was nowhere in the checkout process or ordering process to indicate what kind of plug I would need. But they obviously knew that they were shipping it to Ireland, so they sent an Irish plug. Included filament, included Prusa Mint, Galaxy Black, and Mystic Brown. These specific samples of Prusa's own brand name filament I found particularly impressive as well, because it included a little barcode that I could scan to get info on those particular rolls that they came off of. I know that they have these on their base spools of full 1 kilogram rolls, but this is just a demo piece, and they still included that information. Impressive. Next there, I pulled out the spool holder that will need assembled, as well as this here, the manual. It was very useful. On one side was how to assemble, on the other side, when I flip it around, will be the how-to guide, first steps and such. According to this paper, it took exactly a week for the box to be packed and then for it to arrive on my doorstep. Personally, I opted for only the steel sheet mini PEI board. I didn't get the powder-coated texture board just yet. I figured I would get the machine, figure out the basics, and then order the other board once I realized its benefit. It also wouldn't hurt to get some Prusa Mint at the same time. Save on shipping, right? But I did get the filament sensor. I would very much like the peace of mind to know that if I ever run out of filament while I'm printing, it's not going to ruin the whole thing, and I can just add more filament to keep going at the same time, at the same spot. Or so says my extreme lack of knowledge in what I'm doing here. One thing I criticized from the unboxing videos that I noticed online is almost every single reviewer took all the pieces out, laid them out in front of them, and started assembling it themselves. I did watch one or two use a YouTube video for assembly, but I'm gonna stop here and actually read the manual. I know, risque, right? Well, as it turns out, laying everything out on the desk in front of you and then starting to assemble according to the directions is probably the best course of action. Yep. It turns out that the struggle is real. Candy or assembly? It's the hardest question of all. With the unboxing officially done, it's time to start moving on to assembly. This is probably the most time-consuming part of the entire process. I was made aware from a few sources that either one, the video or the manual, could either be a little out of date as far as updates to boxing and procedures and each build goes. So I thought it would be the best option to use both at the same time. Well, it's been about a half an hour since I got to this point in the assembly guide, and I'm starting to attempt to connect the two pieces together, and it's just not working. Nothing I do is getting the screw to attach to the first nut, and I suppose to the internet. Well, with a little extra light, it made all the difference. Many of the experienced reviewers that I watched on YouTube explained this part as being the most difficult. And speaking as someone who has zero knowledge yet in this subject, it became quite difficult to assemble this guy. The real main problem I kept experiencing was when the pieces would fail to seat together, I found they began scratching each other with the different aluminum parts. Got it. Second screw in, another 15 minutes. The main section throughout near the end here was connecting the electronics in the back, which had me take off the cover to expose them to the air, and it made me very nervous. Not something I would do very often, is taking electronics apart. I have tried a few times with some electrical engineering and have ruined a few motherboards. in the process, so I was a little harrowing, but it's just a matter of pushing a few connectors into their slots. At the moment, my workstation doesn't have very good light, so the head torch was a great addition, but I think that might be one of my first upgrades soon, will be a better light source. It'll also make for better videos too. When the time came to return the cover of the electronics section, there were now 3 cables coming up out of it instead of the 1 originally. It was a little nerve-wracking. I had to use a bit of force to get them in there. I hope nothing really is pinched too much going forward, but it does show exactly what to do that on the manual and the video, so it must be right. Here I'm assembling the spool holder, which I've heard many complaints about on YouTube, but I find it quite alright. I can see the benefit of having one that hangs off the side of the machine, but so far, as my first spool holder for my first machine, it's doing a pretty good job. One of the big differences here at the very end that I noticed between the video and the manual is that the manual has you apply your feet kind of the first thing on the machine, so it's a bit more stable on the work surface. But the video didn't mention it at all, so I didn't put them on until the very end. Kind of was conflicting in when and where they go. There's one part left that I'm very excited for. Alright guys, well it looks like I finally have a Prusa Mini here, all assembled, ready to go. Stay tuned for next time when I will try my first print. Thank you very much. See you later. Feel free to join us on Instagram and Patreon so we can all hallucinate about the possibilities of 3D printing together.